Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. I trust you had a great weekend. It was rather a long one, most appreciated, I must admit. I'll start my home thoughts with a quote from Chinua Achebe. I believe in the complexity of the human story. I read a number of books over the weekend, one of which was the Granted Book of the African Short Story, and I put up a picture of it. Really tremendous. And then I went back to read some reviews of that compilation, and it said, one of them from the FT, how can you anthologize 53, now 54 countries, 1 billion people in over 1,000 ethnic groups? How can you gather together the stories of a continent that is larger than China, Europe, and the United States put together? How can you anthologize 53 countries, 1 billion people in over 1,000 ethnic groups? From there I jumped to Italo Calvino, The True Journey. Italo Calvino wrote, implies a complete change of nutrition, a digesting of the visited country, its fauna and flora, and its culture. Not only the different culinary practices and condiments, but the different implements used to grind the flour or stir the pot. I like this photograph of a Kenya Wildlife Service helicopter flying over elephants in the Tsavo National Park. That was from March 15. Obviously, there's been some big news about the hijacking of an Egyptian plane, which is currently sitting in Cyprus, I believe. Let's see how that develops. Agence France Presse, Pakistan, les talibans revendiquant un sanglant attentat suicide visant les chrétiens. And it was the photograph that caught my attention. Very interesting piece in the New Yorker talking about the Taliban, saying that as the Afghan Taliban flourished, the Pakistani Taliban, occupying the same havens in the tribal areas, spun out of Pakistan's control. In Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the eponymous scientist, saddened by the death of his mother, sets out to create a human replicant in his laboratory. But instead of a human, a giant grotesque emerges with yellow eyes, overstretched skin, and a volatile disposition. Victor Frankenstein refers to it as the monster and the creature. His creation runs wild, killing Victor's bride and his best friend, driving its creator to torment and sadness. The tale of Frankenstein is the proper lens through which to view the attack by Taliban gunmen this week on a school in Pakistan. Not surprisingly, the double game was too clever by half. As the Afghan Taliban flourished, the Pakistani Taliban, occupying the same havens in the tribal areas, spun out of Pakistan's control. And then I like this photograph of Christian women at a Sacred Heart Cathedral in Lahore, Pakistan. It's a tragedy, and every day we seem to have a new one. Palmyra was demolished more than once through the centuries, and we will restore it anew so it will be a treasure of cultural heritage for the world. I put up a photograph of the royal necropolis of ancient Thebes, was located southwest of Palmyra in an area called the Valley of the Tombs. This image shows an underground burial chamber for 3 wealthy brothers. Mr. Assad's advisors believe not only that he has passed the risky period, and he will remain the president of Syria. They also believe his ability to stand up to the whole world will make him more prominent than ever as a leader in the region. A diplomat with long experience in the region recounted that in the 1980s, a British diplomat asked the Soviet ambassador about the superpower's relationship with Mr. Assad's father, Hafez. They take everything from us, the Soviets said, except advice. Seems to be a good point. Now, of course, we have this man in the hat that everyone is looking for, but they found him. The Belgian police have released him. His name is Faisal C, citing lack of evidence. Conspiracy theorists will see the man in the hat as an intelligence asset. POTUS does the tango, and when we went out for lunch with some ladies, they all thought that his partner was a little bit too forward. But what a great photograph. What tremendous joie de vivre POTUS has. Politico asks, Pinochet, Chavez, Trump. After decades of suffering under populist autocrats, Latin Americans have a message for the gringos. Welcome to our world. Better than most, the people of Latin America know how to spot a Caudillo, or populist strongman, Pinochet, Noriega, Castro, Chavez, Perón. Perhaps that helps explain why Latin Americans who would typically not care very much about the American presidential primary process have nevertheless been paying such keen attention this year for the first time in memory. Across the continent, Trump has struck a jangly nerve of recognition among people who see something all too familiar in the possibility of a Presidente Trump, in addition to the long line of democratically elected populist autocrats who have reigned down here for decades. They see up north the rise of a true North American Caudillo. Trump is at war with the entire political establishment, and that is a key part of his appeal. Burgess said another common ingredient of Trump and the typical Caudillo is the ability to summon a multi-class coalition, mobilizing support that appears to buck traditional positions of left and right, typically cohering in the working class. In that respect, Burgess said, Trump most resembles Juan Domingo Perón, who served as the president of Argentina during the 1940s, 50s, and 70s. It just echoes of Trump over and over again. What's in your briefcase? Vladimir Putin ribbed John Kerry ahead of Syria talks. And then I like this photograph of Vladimir meeting the Sheikh of Abu Dhabi. And look at the faces on all the individuals in that particular photograph. Pretty striking. I like this comment from Pontifex. All of us together, Muslims, Hindus, Catholics, Copts, evangelical Protestants, brothers and sisters, children of the same God. We want to live in peace and integrated. Interesting piece I came across in the New York Times, When Journalism Becomes Diplomacy, by Turner Cowell, saying that President Obama has a habit of using the news media to ask foreign leaders difficult or awkward questions he doesn't necessarily want to raise on his own. China is not leaving the South China Sea. However, the South China Sea is the red-hot geopolitical hotspot. On that note, let me put up a photograph of Pavlof volcano located on the Aleutian Islands. This is one of the most active in the region. Apparently, it's been spewing ash. My piece over the weekend goes back to another piece I wrote a few years ago. Countries pay heavy price for less costly terror attack. The bombings of Brussels Airport and the Malbec metro attack brought terror back with full force onto our screens. I extend my deepest condolences to the Kingdom of Belgium, the Minister of Foreign Affairs Didier Reynders, who was a gracious guest at Mindspeak, and to the Ambassador to Kenya, Roxanne de Bilderling. As I scan the news and the names of the attackers, I loop back to one of my French O-level books, the inestimable Albert Camus' L'Étranger. And this quote, "The Byronic hero, incapable of love or capable only of an impossible love, suffers endlessly. He is solitary, languid, his condition exhausts him. If he wants to feel alive, it must be in the terrible exaltation of a brief and destructive action. Surely Najim Lakrawi and Brahim al-Bakrawi are not Byronic heroes by any stretch of the imagination, but in their minds they probably are. In the financial markets there is a concept called tail risk. Tail risk is the risk of an asset or portfolio of assets moving more than 3 standard deviations from its current price. For example, in early January it took just 15 minutes on a Monday morning for South Africa's rand to plummet 9%. More than a year ago, the Swiss franc surged almost 30% versus the euro after the central bank abandoned its currency floor against the shared currency. The examples are numerous. If the markets are a mirror, then they are certainly reflecting a new normal around volatility and tail risks. Ben Bernanke was asked why people hold gold, and he said as protection against what we call tail risks, really bad outcomes. Therefore, my question is, how big is the tail risk in our world of more than 7 billion? Let's say 0.5% of 7 billion. That's 35 million people. Drop that to 0.05% and you still will have 3.5 million people. So that's my first point. The absolute number of folks who are prepared to cross the edge is a big absolute number. And that took me to Hunter S. Thompson. The age, there is no honest way to explain it, because the only people who really know where it is are the ones who have gone over. Terrorists are waging asymmetric warfare. They cannot stand toe-to-toe with the conventional army because they would be annihilated. However, what they are doing is exploiting an asymmetric opening. How much do you think the Brussels operation cost the terrorists? Not very much, I venture. How much do you think the reaction has cost Belgium? More than 100x. If you look at it through a prism of a return on investment, one return profile looks like a go-go NASDAQ stock pre the crash. If we assume the pipeline of Byronic heroes is limitless, then we have to appreciate the terrorist strategy is like a free option. And the state's ROI looks seriously out of whack. It's too expensive. It stalls the entire economy, and more of the state's resources are diverted into counter-terrorism. My final observation is this: Westgate, Garissa meant we were in the crosshairs. Today, terror is striking in the heart of Europe. Terror is surfing the new flat world. There has been diffusion. This is counterintuitively positive for Kenya. Ian Bremer tweeted, "Terrorist Muslims needle haystack." But my point is the absolute number is still a big one. International markets, let's move on to currency markets. Euro, 111.73. Dollar index, 96.01. Japanese yen, 113.70. Swissy, 0.9747. Pound, 142.10. Aussie, which has been perky, 0.7524. India rupee, 66.555. South Korean won, 1163.60. Brazilian real, 362.63. That's a sell. Egyptian pound touched its lowest ever on the black market. On the official market, it's at 8.8799, and the rand at 15.4616. Sterling, I'll put up a one-year chart this morning. It was at 142.32 when I walked in. I said sell it with a 145.50 stop. Dollar Canada is another interesting currency. We're now trading at 132.07. I think it's a buy with a stop at 129.25. China's Anbang has raised its offer for Starwood to $14 billion. Many years ago, when I was sent on my first business trip to New York, and I was about 26 or 27 years old, I was put up with a Ritz-Carlton in New York, which is one of their properties. Commodity markets, gold 12, 15, 60, feels as if it's run out of steam. Keep an eye on it for now. Casualty of oil price slumped. Al Jazeera TV fires 500 employees in revamp of operations. Crude oil, I'll put up a one-year chart. I think it's a big sell with a 44.45 stop. That's WTI. The Saudi Riyal has been trading at a rate of 375 per dollar since 1986, and the kingdom has taken steps to make speculating against the currency harder. Have a look at the chart. I think the rebound is now overdone, and you put the trade on again. Where to see the fabled Fabergé imperial Easter eggs? This is a link from the Smithsonian. Do take a look. Interesting article about emerging markets. In the new emerging markets, alpha comes in the form of politics. We are in the part of the cycle when the economies slow down and administrations have to take tough measures, said Pablo Cicilline. Situations like that require being more on the ground to be there to understand what's happening. The result is a dramatic shift. Firms now have analysts learn the names of politicians, prosecutors, Supreme Court justices, double the number of trips, scan prices at foreign supermarkets, track footprints in stores, read facial expressions of policymakers. Global fragility, they say, is unveiling institutional weakness, graft, poor governance, and low labour productivity, and they need to track them all. When growth looks great, your fiscal numbers look great, your current account looks great, you downplay or overlook politics or other problems of the economy. Let's move on to Africa. Congo's Caudillo consolidates local control in governor's elections. Allies of DRC President Joseph Kabila won 14 out of 19 provincial governorships decided on Saturday, the Election Commission said, shoring up the president's local support despite calls to step down this year. My legal friends tell me the constitution is bulletproof and the opposition just need to run down the clock. I'm not so sure. Angolan rapper Luati Beirao was jailed for rebellion, sentenced to 5.5 years in prison for planning a rebellion against President Jose Eduardo dos Santos. Amnesty International said they'd been sentenced by a kangaroo court. The 17 were arrested in June after discussing a book about non-violent resistance at their book club. I think the government is set to become more repressive, not less, and this is set to place more pressure on the pressure cooker. South African oil shares up 3.22% this year. According to Bloomberg, the South African rand is nearing a golden cross buy signal versus the pound. Take a look at that chart. Dollar rand, I'll put up a one-year chart. I think it's going to still struggle against the dollar. Sell it closer to 15.25. Looking for a move back above 16. Dollar rand, I'll put up a one-year chart, as I said. I like this tweet from Sibs, a MacD. Jacob Zuma got how many bodyguards? And look at his Twitter pic. Egyptian EGX 30 is up 6.77% this year in a bull market. The Egyptian real estate index has risen 22.6% since March 14, when the central bank weakened the pound by the most in 2003. Emefiele's currency vow dashes hope for Naira devaluation. Non-deliverable forwards or NDFs are still pricing in a devaluation of as much as 40% over the next 12 months. 3-month contracts are moving, predicting a depreciation of 25% in mid-February to just 10% after Emefiele pledged on March 22nd to maintain currency stability. With the backing of President Muhammadu Buhari, the central bank has effectively pegged the Naira at 197 to 199 per dollar since last year through capital controls and import restrictions. It is trading at about 320 on the black market. 3-month NDFs have appreciated 13% in the past month, to the strongest level since December. That's exactly what the disconnect between the short and long end of the NDF curve highlights. The market doesn't expect any currency adjustment in the short term. In January 2015, I wrote, Emefiele's finger in the dike strategy is about to be overwhelmed by a tsunami. Well, it hasn't been until now, but when it does come, that tsunami is going to be 10x what it would have been. Nigeria all shares down 9.57% this year. Ghana's stock exchange composite index down 3.98% so far this year. Let's move on to Kenya, where we've seen a number of earnings. I&M Holdings reported that full-year profit after tax rallied at 24.597%. Loans and advances grew 13.63% to 127.82 billion. Profit before income tax up 23.545%. Profit for the year after tax up 24.597%. EPS up 26.254%. Cash and cash equivalents at the end of the year up big time at 4.37 billion shillings. Strong earnings, cheap PE ratio 5.84 as room to the top side. Nairobi Securities Exchange reported that full-year profit after tax declined 4.515%. Profit before tax was down 13.652%. EPS down 26.291%. Dividend hiked 28.947%. What's really driven interest was a bonus share of 1 for every 3 held. That's taken the NSE to trade limit up today, up 10%. I think it's going higher in 2016, and that prediction is based on an increased smorgasbord of product, strong institutional demand for exchange equity globally, and the bonus and dividend hike will keep it humming along. Standard Chartered is up 14.871% year to date at a 2016 high. And if you want to go and look at the results, where I think they've put everything plus the baby and the bath water in it. And therefore I'm expecting a much stronger 2016. Standard Group reported that full-year profit after, there was no full-year profit after tax. There was a loss of 289.603 million. Revenue was down 6.152%. A loss before tax of 395.801 million versus a profit last time of 326.083 million. Earnings per share were negative 2 shillings and 95 cents. Cash and cash equivalents at the end of the year was 450.4 million negative. In their commentary, they said that during this period the group embarked on diversification of its products, invested in the expansion of its radio Maisha network as well as its digital platform. Radio revenue up 233%, digital up 50%, saying the revenue decline was mainly the result of digital migration challenges. This saw TV business segment close at 193 million, 21% below last year. Print segment also declined by 11%. Accelerated depreciation of the analog television equipment, write-off of outdoor equipment, one-off reorganization costs, increased bad debt provisions have led to no dividend. It was a poor earnings release, notwithstanding the radio digital strength. Proposed investment in ARM Cement. This is an official release from ARM. They're in advanced discussions with an international institutional investor in respect of an equity investment of $140 million by the investor subscribing for ordinary shares in the company. $110 million will be utilized to retire existing debt. Company and investor currently negotiating the final terms and documentation for the investment. Estimates the transaction agreements will be finalized, executed by the 15th of April 2016. Company anticipates that the investment will be completed in June 2016. Kenya shilling at 101.55. It's been firm as you like all year. Nairobi all share plus 1.28% year to date, and is at a 5-month high. NSE 20 closed above 4,000 for the first time since January the 4th, but it's minus 0.97% year to date. Pan Africa Insurance Holdings has acquired an additional 5% stake in Gateway Insurance, raising its equity of the subsidiary to 56%. UNHCR tweeted Bono discusses hopes of higher education with refugees in Dadaab. And the final point of mine is good morning from Mombasa, my hometown. I like this photograph from Kenya Pics. Once again, thank you for stopping.